Hi all, Jim Pollen here to talk about codes for electrical installation condition reports. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of how to allocate codes to non-compliances, it might be worth reflecting on the realities of what the situation is regarding the production and relevance of these reports. When we arrive at a property, the first thing we do is ask for documentation regarding installation. The electrical installation certificate. This is a signed and dated valid declaration by the designer, installer, inspector that the installation complies with BS 7671 requirements for electrical installations. Also, any previous electrical installation condition reports and documentation for any additions, minor works, etc. Guidance for the person responsible for the installation, as attached to certificates and reports, states the following. The certificate should be retained in a safe place and be shown to any person inspecting or undertaking further work on the electrical installation in the future. If you later vacate the property, this documentation will demonstrate to the new owner that any work carried out complied with the requirements of British Standard 7671 at the time the documentation was issued. I have heard quite often, sometimes by those who should know better, that BS 7671 is only guidance. But if only the guidance was followed, how much simpler and beneficial the whole process would be for everybody. However, we live in the real world, and judging by the various forums with many opinions being voiced and lists of examples of codes published, there seems to be plenty of scope for confusion. This slide is a recap from the first video on EICRs. If you missed this first video, there is a link at the end of this presentation. Always keep in mind, the purpose of the EICR is it safe? Coding, which we will come on to shortly, consists of two unacceptable outcomes, C1, C2, and FI, which is further investigation required. The report as shown in Appendix 6 states that C1 and C2 have been identified and the installation is unsatisfactory. FI further investigation is required without delay, and in the notes for the person producing the report it says that this should be recorded in section E as again unsatisfactory, and there is one satisfactory outcome, C3, although improvement is recommended. The purpose of the EICR is to determine if the installation is safe for continued use, so it would make sense to be aware of what the dangers are. In Chapter 13, within Part 1, the scope, we are given a list of what the dangers are. Number 1 on the list is, as expected, shock currents. The fundamental principles state that there are two ways of getting an electric shock. One is not having basic protection against touching a live part. Two main ways of giving basic protection are insulation and the use of enclosures. Fault protection is when a metal part of the electrical system becomes live due to a fault, and as well as preventing a current passing through the body, we can also limit the magnitude by the use of bonding and limit the duration of the fault by using earthing. Thermal effects are combustion, ignition or degradation of materials, a risk of burns from equipment, the safe function of equipment, and Chapter 42 gives information on preventing danger. Another video addressing the rest of the safety considerations is in the pipeline and hopefully will be put out in a few days. Also, videos going into greater depth are envisaged. Please give feedback and leave comments if you found this useful, and subscribe to get the latest content. Thank you.